Welcome back to Unmute Yourself. I'm your host, Jennifer Carter, and this podcast is about lifting the curtain on leadership, purpose, and the real stories behind women who dared to do things differently. We'll talk about how they found their path, the struggles along the way, and how they built something that truly matters. These are normal people doing extraordinary things because I want you to know you are extraordinary too. Y'all, hold on to your hats because my guest today is Dr. Ewelina Kurtys. She's a neuroscientist, startup operator, and strategic advisor at a company called FinalSpark. Now, this is a deep tech company working on one of the, I have to take my glasses off for this because I need you to see my excitement, terror, all the things. The wildest ideas I've ever had on this podcast. They're building computers that use living neurons to process information, right? Mind blown. So FinalSpark is part of the emerging field of biological computing with the goal of creating computers that use dramatically less energy than traditional silicon-based systems. The company says this approach could eventually help address the growing energy demands of AI and has already launched a remote research platform for community. So Ewelina came to this work through neuroscience, then made the leap from academia into startups and commercial strategy. And what I find fascinating about you, Ewelina, is that you live at the edge, right, of science and business and even ethics, which we'll talk a little bit about, translating something that most people find thrilling. Like my husband, he finds this thrilling, terrifying. I'm a little scared, but we're going to talk about that. Into a conversation about what the future could actually look like. Ewelina, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So you're from Poland, right?
Yes, correct.
And you have a PhD in neuroscience. And then, so what made you make the jump from academia into startups?
I think curiosity. I was always curious and I wanted to know what is outside academia. So I always knew at some point I want to leave research. And when I was doing my postdoc in London, that was a perfect time to leave. London is a great time for a great place also for networking and seeing different point of view and different jobs, whatever people are doing. So I had the chance about small companies and startups and to discover that might be a place for me. So I started to work in small companies and then I set up my own also in UK. So I work as a consultant and yes, I think it's just the effect of exploration and trying different things and talking to different people and seeing what is possible. And
so how did you find FinalSpark and what attracted you to this company?
That was very cool. Actually, I met the founders at the conference in London, AI Summit. At the time, it was really interesting. It was before LLMs, large language models. So the discussions about AI were interesting because I think now it's a little bit boring because you put everything in ChatGPT and, just it's always the same. But at that time, that was before ChatGPT, I was actually really impressed that you can do so many things with AI. I was really fascinated with the whole conferences, but the FinalSpark project seemed to be, for me, the most interesting because it was so multidisciplinary, because it was combination of neuroscience and engineering. So a very rare mix. And I thought it's very cool. And I always like to do something what nobody else is doing. In research, it's easy because everyone has some topic, but in industry, many things are all the same. But I found it exciting that this kind of work on biocomputers is very original. Not many people do this. So I kind of found my niche and I thought it's perfect combination for my industry interest in AI and also academic interest in neuroscience. So couldn't be better.
That's amazing. I love that you found something cutting edge that piqued your interest that you can dig into. So, okay. So can you explain FinalSpark in a way that people not in the industry can understand?
Yes, I think the concept is not difficult. It's hard to do this in the lab, but to understand what we do, I think it's not so hard. So what we do is we try to build computers using living neurons, the same as we have in our brains. These are building blocks of our brains. We do not try to reproduce a brain. That's not what we do. We try to build another structure, but using the same building blocks as in the human brain. And why we do this? Because we know that neurons are extremely energy efficient, and it is assumed that such a computer will be 1 million times more energy efficient than a silicon. So this is why we want to, the main reason for this project is that we could make a sustainable AI, which also would be more accessible. It would be cheaper because the cost of running such an AI will be much less.
I can't even begin to wonder how you would make that happen. But, some people hear it and think that's absolutely fascinating. Others think that's terrifying. I'm kind of both camps and I'm
Mhm.
scared, but I don't know why I'm scared. So, can you talk about like that reaction of why people freak out about this?
I don't know. You would have to ask people who freak out. I
But
don't
like
know.
why? But I'm sure you've heard a ton of people are like, is it ethical? Why is it scary? Like, have you had to answer those questions?
Yes, we have a lot of questions, but I think scared comes from fear from a novelty, and people are generally afraid of technology or maybe skeptical. And actually, every technology needs some time for adoption,
Right.
and it's difficult to break the status quo. It's normal that we are used to the reality which is around us, and it's very difficult to make changes. It's normal thing, but what I believe we need to do is to educate and to just popularize. Maybe educate is not a good word. Maybe popularize the knowledge so that
Mm.
people can get familiar with what is coming. Because if it's possible to build technology, I think people will build it anyway. So it's better to get used to the future. Yes.
Yeah. What do you think most people misunderstand most about what you're doing?
I think the biggest misunderstanding is that we build brains in the lab, which is
Right.
absolutely not true. And I think people like to anthropomorphize everything. So we see human traits in everything. Also in artificial intelligence, and it doesn't matter actually if it's biologic, biocomputer, or it's silicon. There is a lot of discussion about AI also being conscious. I think these are the effects of our bias, and that we think that if AI kind of behaves similar to us, that is also has consciousness and thinking. So I think it's our bias. But yes, the biggest misunderstanding is that we build brain in the lab. This is not true. We just use the same building blocks. So it's like you take bricks. You can build a bridge from that, or the house, or something else. So you can build totally different structure with the same building blocks. And I think this is the biggest misunderstanding. And unfortunately, also scientists themselves often like to say like brain in the dish, which I think is not true. We don't have brain. We just have cells. And this is far away from a brain. And I think this causes unnecessary ethical question. I mean, and ethical doubts, which people may have if they think that we have brains on the dish. Yes.
Right. Because when you first said, like, oh my gosh, we're building computers out of neurons, like the
Mhm.
Terminator comes to my head, right? It's any
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, what is that that show? Anyway, don't mind me. But you think about like people that are robots, but that's not it at
Mhm.
all. It sounds like it's just the cells and how things are connected. Look at me, y'all. How do neurons even work? How does this go?
Hmm. So yeah, I actually wrote a blog article about this on LinkedIn. So I encourage anyone to check if they are interested. But in a nutshell, neurons are producing spikes, which is basically electrical activity of neurons. Spikes is just a moment when they are active electrically. So the voltage changes on the surface of neuron. They are processing information in time and space. So it matters where and when a neuron is active, because this is information. So this is totally different from silicon, which is based on zeros and ones. And this is also way more efficient. So you can process information with much less energy using this approach. But we don't fully understand it yet. So we don't know yet how neurons actually encode information. So we know a lot about processing spikes, but we don't know how it's encoding. So we don't know what these spikes actually mean. So today, if you detect activity of the brain, you cannot really decode what person is thinking about, for example, because we don't know what these spikes mean. But we know quite a lot about how they are processed.
That's so cool. So what are your next steps? How do you make this a reality?
So our next step, the big challenge, is learning in vitro. So we want to be able to perform learning. So neurons learn in such a way that they change connections between each other. So we want to be able to achieve this effect in vitro in the lab on the dish. And We would like that through sending programmatically, sending signals, electrical and chemical signals to neuron, which you can do in our lab. We want to be able to change connections between neurons, so also to change activity of neurons. And this is the biggest challenge currently. So it's kind of like searching for language for programming neurons, which
That's
is
amazing.
something different than silicon, but we don't really know what.
Could this learning be the basis to, when I say this word, I don't want people to think of it as in a negative way, but reprogram humans, even if you are getting a better understanding of how neurons process information and share information, could that, what you're learning, then be used to help people build different pathways?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think it's possible. It's not objective of our project, but I think it's
Right.
possible. And actually, we had such ideas. Maybe one day we can upload foreign language, for example, or any other kind of knowledge in someone's brain. Of course, this is still a theoretical assumption, but yes, we think that this can be a result also of our work. That we learn how to program neurons in vitro, in the dish, in the lab, so we can maybe also program neurons in brain, which has a good side and a bad, of course, like every technology.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. And I know that you mentioned during our prep call that ethical questions come up all the time. And I think you mentioned that FinalSpark talks with philosophers as part of
Yes,
this process.
yes, we
So
do.
what have you learned from those discussions?
Well, actually, we learned that philosophers don't have the same worries as general public. So I think it's quite popular to think about neurons being conscious, which is, I think, again, a result of our bias. But philosophers look at this a bit differently. They are actually interested in understanding what is the barrier. What is the border between human and technology and how it's changing with technology and even, smartphones, which we are using today, anything actually, every technology is changing us. So it's not only via computer, but this is always interesting how technology is changing us also as humans. Yes. Like, for example, today we almost always use Google Maps. So we maybe forget how to use the paper map, or we don't remember the way in our heads. So technology is really affecting us, and it's kind of like extension of our brain. But if we use living neurons, then maybe there's difficult to define the border between technology and biology and what is living. So yeah, these are interesting questions. And also public perception is interesting to study at this stage, because maybe there will be future questions, but at this stage, we are very early. So, for example, we were able to store in our neurons one bit of information, just one bit. So this is very early, but later when we develop advanced algorithm, we see how it works. It is possible that maybe we will have some new questions. So that's why I think this is necessary to have this ongoing discussion with philosophers and just update each other on the progress and on the questions.
Yeah, it sounds like it's all learning and keeping people apprised of your breakthroughs and how that's growing. And then the questions change and the applications change as you go based on what you learn.
Yes, absolutely.
Got it. And I do wonder, like, for you in this deeply scientific field, what has it been like translating something that's so futuristic, cutting edge, into something that investors, clients, and the public can understand?
Yes, I think the important is the clarity. So we try to always keep things simple, hopefully. And also transparency is important. So we try to show everything what we do in our lab so that people really know there are no secrets. I think imagination can be sometimes, very broad. And when you see things real as they are, then maybe we can see that it's much better or safer. So yes, we try to be very transparent. For example, on our website, finalspark.com, you can see section live and you can see live view from our laboratory. You can see live view from a neuronal signal. So yes, so we try to be transparent. We try to explain, popularize what we do and to show people exactly how it looks. Yes.
Somehow I've ended up working a lot with people in tech, and deep tech, like, often sounds so glamorous. But what does the day-to-day actually look like?
Well, day to day, it really depends. But I think in the lab, there are always new ideas. We are always doing some new hardware. So it's not only about software, but we are also trying to do a lot of physical physical things which are innovative, which are new. We were, for example, able to extend the life of neurons for up to 3 months. Even we had some success, some outliers of 7 months, but that's outliers. So we are constantly making innovation, and that means trying a lot of things in hardware, software, and also biology. So we also have cell culture lab, and we do a lot of experiments with neurons. We try to culture them. So yes, I think there is a lot of innovation in many aspects. That's how it looks on the daily basis.
It's cool. So, what excites you most about this field and what keeps you cautious, if anything?
Exciting. But what excites me more is that not many people work on such a project. So I like to do something special, and I find this special. And what keeps me cautious, I think at this stage, we really don't have huge dangers. I think people overestimate this highly because we are very early stage. Of course, later when we develop advanced algorithm, we can discuss about safety. But at this moment, I think this is too early to worry.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Like, don't freak out before there's something to actually freak out about.
Now, the biggest challenge is actually how to make it work, because it's very difficult. It's really difficult project. And, the researchers from all over the world, they try to understand how neurons are processing information, how they encode information. And this is not only a question of FinalSpark. Many people would like to know it, because this could accelerate research in neuroscience, in brain-computer interface, neuroengineering. So these are very important questions, but also really challenging. So our biggest problem actually today is how to make this work, and how long it will take. We estimate it will take 10 years, but of course this is just an assumption. So this is the biggest worry for us today.
Yeah. How
How
long is it
to
going to
figure
take?
out and how long it will take.
Cool. So, okay. So, if the future, you mentioned at the beginning, like, I don't know why they're terrified, right? I don't know why. You have to ask them, right?
Mhm.
And you mentioned that the future might always sound a little bit scary, but we have to adopt change and innovation. How do we know which fears to listen to and which ones to outgrow?
I think only experts can know this, unfortunately,
Yeah,
because you need to understand the topic deeply to judge it. So it's the same in every field, in medicine, engineering, anything. You need to know it to judge it,
got it. So,
which of
not,
course
so you're,
opens a path to manipulate public opinion.
yeah.
Using
So you're
social
saying,
media, for
don't,
example, yes, because people
yeah,
have no way to judge. The world is really complicated. I think also in politics, in everything, the world is really complicated, and this like usual, like single person cannot judge everything because it's impossible to comprehend everything. So we have to rely on the experts. So actually, this is yes, I think it's necessary to have trust in experts. Yes, otherwise it's we will formulate random judgments.
yeah. There's a lot of assumptions,
Yes.
and people make, I think, decisions out of fear without understanding.
Mhm.
And everybody has an opinion and they're sharing it, whether they're educated on
Mhm.
it or not. And so people are just randomly choosing who to listen to. Yeah, I
Or
get that. That's got to
based
be
on
tough.
emotion, I would say. People choose based on emotion, but that's not a good rationale.
Yeah. How do you deal, like, personally, how do you deal with that?
I don't
Because you're
know.
doing cool stuff. Like, how do you get people to listen to you?
Well, what do you mean listen to me on this when we popularize the knowledge? Or
Yeah. Or like to trust you. I guess, how do you build trust
I
with,
think you just have to be honest
yeah,
and competent. So that's what we try to be. And that's the only way probably we just doing our work genuinely.
yeah,
And we are transparent. I think transparency in general, it's a big indicator of honesty also.
I got it. Okay. So let's do a quick lightning round. So just answer with the first thing that comes to mind. Okay. What part of yourself are you finally letting the world see?
Public speaking.
Good. Yay.
I love to do this. Really, I love to do this. Yes.
It's fun, right? Okay. What story or belief about yourself did you have to unlearn to step fully into who you are?
Oh my goodness. It's a lot of things, but I think it's important we believe in ourselves. Like, for example, when I learned driving, I believed at the beginning that I'm not able to drive. So I had to learn, I had to teach myself first. To believe that I can drive, and now I'm a good driver. But it's like that with everything, that you have to change your way of thinking, and this really works that way. And I remember at some point when I believed that I cannot drive, I was very bad driver. And now when I started to believe I'm good driver, I'm actually driving very well. So it's really working. And this is very like I think, a very good illustration of how our self-belief is really affecting
Right.
reality.
I get that.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay, what does it cost you to be authentic and why is it worth it?
It doesn't cost anything. I think it would be huge cost to not be authentic.
Good. Great. And what boundary have you set that protects your sense of self?
I have very good boundaries always. If yes, I think it's always good to have your limits to everything. Yes.
Okay. And if you could, oh, this is going to be a good one. If you could unmute one truth people are too afraid to say, what would it be?
Oh my God. I don't know. People are afraid. I think today people are not afraid of saying anything, especially when we have social media. I don't imagine there is anything people are afraid to say because I think you can see everything. At least, yeah, I actually, you can see too much. But now
Got
people are
it.
talking too much. But yes, I don't think that there are any limits today. It's more that, as you know, the philosopher Harari said that there is too much information today, not too little. So before, maybe we had a lot of things not said and there was not enough information, but actually today with internet and social media, we have too much of everything. So actually we have to learn not how to speak, but we have to learn how to filter. So that's not
Yeah.
to listen to everything. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Very good point. Okay. And what keeps you grounded when you feel pressure to perform or fit in?
I never feel pressure to fit in. And I generally think, I think I get such amazing advice. I don't remember from where I get it, but it's always good to look at your life. Imagine yourself in 30 years or in 50 years when you will be old lady and you will be looking back at today, how unimportant will be many things which you might worry today. So I think this perspective is really helpful. And it's really good to look at your life, not from perspective when you were younger, but actually from perspective when you will be older, how you will be thinking about today. So I think this helps a lot in relaxing and understanding that, you know, that there are a lot of friction, but they are not really important on the bigger picture. So that's, I think, is a great technique to calm you down.
Dr. Curtis, you are fascinating. And I
Thank you
love
so
this.
much.
Yes. So if listeners walk away remembering just one thing from our conversation, what do you hope it is?
That FinalSpark is building living computers, finalspark.com. So if you're interested in the project, in the cutting edge technology, then check our website.
Perfect. Finalspark.com.
Yes.
Great. And then what has it meant for you to be on Unmute Yourself today?
We want to popularize the knowledge about FinalSpark. So that's our mission. We want that more people know about this technology because it's something new and exciting. And I think it's interesting topic to spread.
That's great. And if listeners want to connect with you, can they find you on LinkedIn?
Yes, absolutely. Very easy to find me on LinkedIn, and also our website, finalspark.com, gives a lot of opportunities to send us different questions. There are forms on the websites. Very easy to get in touch with us. We answer everything.
Well, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Ewelina Kurtys, and thank you everyone listening and for choosing truth over comfort, alignment over approval, and courage over silence. And just remember, I work with senior leaders navigating high stakes decisions and coach leaders who are ready to move past being stuck in choices they already know they need to make. So if this episode resonated, share, subscribe, and stay with us as we explore what it really means to live and lead without muting who we are. Until next time, unmute yourself and be who you already are.